This episode of commandN, Virgin gets flirty, Microsoft lights up your gaming room, and Jeff has an iTunes tip. Welcome to commandN, I'm Amber. We have a great show for you today. We're still touring around Florida, but going home to Toronto soon. I hear the weather there is getting a lot better, so that is great news. Also wanted to mention that we just started a series on Fast Company called Dialed. It's a series of blog posts and videos that we'll be doing for the next few months. I recently wrote a post on the top to-do list apps, so you may want to check that out. Now let's check in with Jeff and Lara with the latest headlines.
Thanks, Amber. We're going to start off with what I think is one of the coolest ideas I've seen in a long time, Microsoft's IllumiRoom technology for Xbox. This was originally unveiled at CES, but we've just had a chance to check out the new video demo, and it's fantastic. So they use a Connect for Windows video camera, and the system captures the geometry and color of the room you're playing in. Then an accompanying projector extends the game visuals into your actual physical environment. And it does this sometimes directly by projecting the game environment beyond your screen onto the walls of your living room, but sometimes also in very novel ways that produce some incredible visuals.
For example, such illusions can change the appearance of the room, turning the living room into a cartoon world. The illusions can distort reality, extend field of view, and enable entirely new gaming experiences. These illusions are just a small sample of what is possible with the IllumiRoom system.
I can't wait to see that in action. In other news, it seems that the Pentagon will be Fort Blackberry no more, with a decision soon expected by the Defense Department that will allow Apple and Samsung, as well as Blackberry devices, to be used on its networks.
And that seems about time. I know it's the Pentagon and everything, but you know, we can probably get around those security things. Well, we talked last week about Virgin Galactic, but Sir Richard is keeping our attention with his recent announcement of a new seat-to-seat flirting feature on Virgin Airlines.
This bizarre service allows passengers to order items from the in-flight touchscreen menu and have them delivered to someone else's seat. While it may be useful for families or groups who are flying together, and Branson insists this is just a harmless icebreaker, there are certainly some people who think it might be a little creepy to be trapped in a plane with unwanted admirers plying you with gifts.
First, pinpoint the object of your affection. Once the seatbelt sign is off, approach her with a check for her favorite charity, carried in the mouth of a puppy that you've given the power of speech to. Direct her attention to the window where she'll see your suborbital spaceship composing a haiku in skywriting. Drive to your launch pad, pole vault her into the basket of your hot air balloon, and take flight to your private island. If you need a more cost-effective alternative, try treating her or him to something delicious using the new seat-to-seat feature of Red.
Do you ever feel like you need a technology-free retreat? The folks at Digital Detox in California have created Camp Grounded just for you then. It's billed as a 4-day summer camp for adults, and Camp Grounded insists campers obey 3 simple rules: no technology use, no cell phones, and no talking about work.
To me, that sounds kind of dreamy. Now, before we go, we wanted to share with you a humorous video from Microsoft that takes aim at competitors Apple and Samsung.
I am delighted we could share in the serenity and joy of this beautiful day as we come together to celebrate the commitment. Of these.
Would you mind moving your enormous phone?
You mean the enormously awesome Galaxy?
Search One Trick Pony.
Aren't you a little young to have an iPhone?
You want to go?
iSheet, copy bots.
Autocorrect this.
Is there an app for that?
Search karate.
Karate!
You think if they knew about the Nokia Lumia, they'd stop fighting all the time?
I don't know. I think they kind of like fighting.
The Windows Phone Nokia Lumia 920. Engadget's Reader's Choice Smartphone of the Year.
Love that video. As you can probably tell, we do a lot of traveling and we tend to shoot commandN on the road in many different cities. So I always make sure that I have some of my favorite music on hand in my iTunes library so I'm ready to go. So for our next segment, Jeff has some great tips if you're an iTunes fan and want a better way to be able to organize your music.
I don't mean to brag, but I've got a huge iTunes library, over 1 terabyte of media files, so needless to say I was a little concerned when I discovered that my media had become split between my trusty Drobo and my home iMacs hard drive. I think this happened as a result of my switching back to iTunes 10 after Apple unforgivably decided to strip the iTunes DJ functionality out of iTunes 11. Apple, please undo this travesty. It was a very cool feature. In any case, it turns out that it's fairly simple to consolidate multiple libraries in iTunes, and the same feature gives you an easy way to move your library from one machine onto another as well. I'll be working from the Mac version of iTunes, but Windows has similar functionality in that version as well. So, as anyone giving advice about this kind of thing is obliged to say, please make sure you have a backup of your files in case anything goes wrong. Now, if you've got a whole lot of files like me and you're feeling lucky and don't want to do that big copy, then at least make sure you create backup copies of your iTunes library.itl and iTunes library.xml files, which are kept by default in your iTunes folder inside your music folder on your hard drive. And in that same folder, you'll also find an iTunes Media folder or maybe an iTunes Music folder, depending on how old your version of iTunes is. And this is where the actual music and other media files are stored. So now that you know where everything is, start up iTunes, go to the Advanced tab of your preferences, and at the top you can see where iTunes is currently storing your media. And this is what must have accidentally changed for me, which is why my library split in two and started copying files into a new location. Thankfully, you can change this folder to a new location so that you can either move your files to a new hard drive, or in my case, copy the files that had accumulated in another location over the past year back to where they should be on my Drobo. So a couple things you want to make sure are checked there. Keep iTunes Media folder organized, and copy files to iTunes Media folder are both important so that your library stays organized from this point on. Then just go to your iTunes File menu and select Library, and then Organize Library, and you'll be presented with the option to consolidate files. Check this, and if your files aren't already organized this way, in which case it will be grayed out, check Reorganize File in the folder as well. Hitting OK will then copy all of your media files currently referenced by your iTunes library into the iTunes Media folder that you previously specified in Advanced Preferences. This process can take a while for large libraries, and don't forget that it's doing a copy, not a move, so all these files will still be left in the original location, so you may have some cleanup that you want to do afterwards. If you really want to make sure that your files are where you think they are, just open iTunes, right-click on a file, and then do Show in Finder and see where your file is actually located. That's all for this episode. I'm Jeff MacArthur. Enjoy.
Before we wrap the show, we're looking for some of your feedback. We've been really focusing on delivering the show to set-top boxes. YouTube only accounts for a small percentage of our viewers. So if you can do us a favor and head on over to commandN.tv/blog and take the survey that we have there, just so we can figure out the best way to be able to distribute the show, we'd really appreciate it. As always, you can also find us on social media sites like Google+, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Wow, holy cow. That was the same place.
I'll use that as a blooper.
Yeah,
Are you going to bleep out your mouth or something?